Good morning. Welcome to our Dharma family service. We're very glad you could join us. Let's begin our service with Sutra chanting. And today we will be chanting Juseige.
Namandam, 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 namandam. Kansho segan hishimu jodo Shigan fu manzok Seifu jo shogak Gao munyoko Fui dai seishu Fusai shobingu Seifu jo shogak Gashi jo butsudo Myosho chojippo Kukyo mishomon Seifu jo shogak Ryokujin shonen Joe shubongyo Shigumu jodo Isho tenin shi Jinniki endai ko Fusho musaido Shoujo sankumyo Kosai shuyakunam Kaihichi egen Meshi konmoan Heisoku shoakudo Tsudatsu zen shumon Koso jo manzok Iyoro jippo Nichigatsu shujuki Tenko onpugen Ishu kai hozo Kose kudoku ho Jo dai shuchu Seppo shishiku Kuyo isai butsu Gusoku shutoku hon Ganne shitsu joman Tokui sangayo Nyobutsu mugechi Tsudatsu mi fusho Gangaku erik Toshi saisho som Shiganya koka Daisen o kando Kokusho tenin Touchin myoke Namo Amida Butsu 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 Ganni shikudoku Byodo seisai Dohoten bodaishin Ojo anako
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, thank you very much. There's always the chance for technical difficulties, huh? I have a feeling that at one point, maybe the screen got kind of obscured and you weren't able to see the words. I could be wrong, but I think that's what happened. But you know what? It's okay. It's almost kind of like a test, huh? And see if how well do you have the sutra memorized, right? I'm not good at doing it purely from memory, but when someone else is chanting, I can kind of chant along, Juseige anyway. So why don't we move on? And next we will recite the 3 treasures, and it'll be on the screen, and I'll try not to obscure it this time. The 3 treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the 3 treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay, thank you once again for joining us. I would like to now deliver the Dharma message. And today, I'd like to talk about gratitude and interdependence. Okay, gratitude and interdependence. Now, last week, we did our Ho'onko service. That is a service, special service dedicated to Shinran Shonin, the founder of our school. And it's connected to his memorial date, the date of his passing. And, in the past, I've referred to something that I call the gratitude season. Right. And that was a way, because, in America, we have a holiday that is ostensibly tied to gratitude. It's in the name, Thanksgiving. Right. So we have Thanksgiving. For us, it's in November, late November. And it's this date, special time, right? A special holiday where we gather with our family. And I guess we have thanks for something. I think different people might give you different answers, but for me as a Buddhist, it's like, okay, this is good. Let's run with it, right? Let's not have it only that weekend, right? Let's think about it and let's extend that, and we can extend it through December, right? Into the holidays, quote unquote. Christmas being the main one in the United States, but not the only one, right? Depending on your own beliefs and your own understanding of what Christmas is. And then New Year's, which is different, right? That's an important day in the United States, but maybe important in a different way in Japan. So we're, with our community that has very much coming out of the Japanese American experience and the Japanese experience, right? New Year's is a very special time. One of the main ones, not eating, right, but being with family, and Ho'onko, right? The Shinran Shonin's memorial service, January 16th. Ho'on being an idea related to gratitude, maybe being the source of this term gratitude that we use in Buddhism, in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. So it should have ended last Sunday, right? And I didn't say anything though, so let's extend it a little bit more. Of course, isn't it kind of like Sunday service, right? That Buddhism isn't just for Sunday, right? It's Sunday is the time to be reminded, to learn, to be recharged, right? But the Buddhist teaching should be with you all the time, right? I thought of this morning and I just posted it on Twitter. Jodo Shinshu is not just for Sunday, right? It's for any time. It's for every moment. So similarly, we have this gratitude season, maybe from Thanksgiving stretching through Hongo, but it's not only for that, right? That this experience of gratitude is part of Jodo Shinshu, part of Shin Buddhism. So it's not something just for the gratitude season. It's for all the time. So one thing that got me going, I found this old copy of this journal called The Pacific World. This is the Institute of Buddhist Studies journal. And, these journals actually were a big part of my early study, even though they were kind of too hard, actually. But, finding one of these journals was kind of had big impact on me. And so I was, looking through it and looking at the articles, and I found one by Tai Tetsu Unno, Reverend Dr. Tai Tetsu Unno, called The Concept of Gratitude in Shin Buddhism. So Tai Unno was one of my early teachers. And it was really, without him, I might not be here, right, as a minister, that I was able to study with him for a whole year before I moved out here over 25 years ago to go to Institute of Buddhist Studies and learn so much. So I was kind of excited to find this article and dive into it a little bit. And so one thing that he says kind of captured me, and I'm going to take it further. He talks about this experience of gratitude is partly because life is a vast network of interdependence and mutuality that constitutes being. So part of the experience of gratitude, is because I realize, whoa, I'm not separate. It's not just me, right? My life is part of a vast network of interdependence and mutuality. So I was like, okay, yeah. Then I thought too, last week we had our Hongo service, but Hongo is also attached to, or not attached to, it happens around the same time as Martin Luther King Day, right? So January 15th, the day before the date we observe Hongo, is actually Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. So I've been thinking about Martin Luther King Jr. And, ever since last week, if not before, because you see all these different posts and everything. And, some people use him trying to push some agenda, and I don't want to do that. But instead, I think, he was so important to our country. And it's also really sad how far we haven't come, maybe, although things have obviously changed a lot. But there's another person that is also tied up with all this, and especially because of what happened yesterday, and that is Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist teacher who passed away yesterday. He is from Vietnamese Buddhist tradition and was a friend of Martin Luther King Jr., right? They were acquaintances, if not friends, and I think had impact on each other. So, realizing, okay, so we have gratitude, right? This idea of gratitude. And where does it come from? Why? Right? And I think there's a lot of different ways to answer it. But today it got me thinking about gratitude and its connection to interdependence. So I'd like to share a little bit, see if I can pull it up. You see that? Gratitude and interdependence. Right? And I'd like to just share a couple quotes. This is a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh talking about interdependence. I mean, he goes so far as to call it interbeing, but we don't have to go that far today. I want to just look at this a little bit. I know it's kind of a long quote, but he says, looking into a flower, you can see that the flower is made of many elements that we can call non-flower elements. When you touch the flower, you touch the cloud. You cannot remove the cloud from the flower, because if you could remove the cloud from the flower would collapse right away. And you might be like, what's he talking about? And he says, well, you don't have to be a poet in order to see a cloud floating in the flower, but you know very well that without the clouds, there would be no rain and no water for the flower to grow. So cloud is part of flower. And if you send the element cloud back to the sky, there will be no flower. Cloud is a non-flower element, and sunshine is another non-flower element, and earth and gardener. If you continue, you'll see a multitude of non-flower elements in the flower. In fact, a flower is made only with non-flower elements. It does not have a separate self. So this is fantastic, right? There's so much in here. He says it in such a beautiful, straightforward way, but there's a lot going on here. You know, I think there's emptiness in here. There's causation. There's interconnectedness or interdependence, and the 12-fold chain of causation, and all kinds of really fascinating Buddhist doctrine here. I learned something similar from one of my teachers. I never studied with Thich Nhat Hanh or you know, studied that school, but one of my teachers said something similar, Reverend Haruyoshi Kusada, when he talked about itadakimasu, right? When we say itadakimasu, we are acknowledging and thanking the entire universe for the meal we're about to consume. The meal we're about to receive is maybe a better way to put it, because itadakimasu means to receive in humble fashion, because it's coming from something bigger. And he said, you know, when we're eating this food, it's nourished, it's not only right, the person that made it, and the farmer and the truck driver and the supermarket cash out person and all those people, right? It's also the earth, the rain, the sun. Right? That when we're eating something, the sun is in there. Without the sun, without the earth, no food. Right? And so when we say itadakimasu, we're trying to acknowledge and express thanks for this incredible universe that's in this food. So this is like such a profound Buddhist idea. And you know, another problem is itadakimasu is Japanese, right? And so we don't know what it means. And yet, I wish there was an English word, right, that we could replace it with. But for now, I try to say it, right? We try to say it before we eat. And if you forget and you're eating and you realize, oh, I forgot, that's okay. You remembered though that, wait, what am I doing? I'm just eating mindlessly, when I should be aware, or should try to be aware of all these causes and conditions, the whole universe in this thing that I'm eating. So don't feel bad if you forget to say itadakimasu. Right? The important thing is that awareness, right? And that gratitude. So here's this idea that, you know, I think Thich Nhat Hanh is well known for teaching, and he takes it further to interbeing, right? With my existence, my being, right, is tied up with this. But he also had, you know, I think he had a really big impact on the world, 20th century, 21st century now. And I think we would not do badly to consider his teachings. And someone who did consider his teachings is Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, it's really interesting to realize that they had this impact on each other. And so here's the Thich Nhat Hanh, and let's look at something. So I just found this online. This is something that Martin Luther King Jr. said in a sermon. And it's kind of long again, but let me just read it for you. This was a Christmas sermon, 1967. He's already given the I Have a Dream speech. The shooting of Alabama of 4 young Black children had happened already by this time. But in the middle of this speech, he talks about this. It really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. We are made to live together because of the interrelated structure of reality. Did you ever stop to think that you can't leave for your job in the morning without being dependent on most of the world? You get up in the morning and go to the bathroom and reach over for the sponge, and that's handed to you by a Pacific Islander. You reach for a bar of soap, and that's given to you at the hands of a Frenchman. And then you go into the kitchen to drink your coffee for the morning, and that's poured into your cup by a South American. And maybe you want tea, that's poured into your cup by a Chinese. Or maybe you're desirous of having cocoa for breakfast, and that's poured into your cup by a West African. And then you reach over for your toast, and that's given to you at the hands of an English-speaking farmer, not to mention the baker. And before you finish eating breakfast in the morning, you've depended on more than half of the world. This is the way of our universe is structured. This is its interrelated quality. We aren't going to have peace on earth until we recognize this basic fact of the interrelated structure of all reality. from the Christmas Sermon on Peace, December 24th, 1967. I mean, wow, right? Right in there. Who knew, huh? Right? I think most people, we hear a few words from the I Have a Dream speech, and that's kind of all we know. But, I think we got to go back to both of these thinkers, both of these figures, right? Thich Nhat Hanh and Martin Luther King Jr. Realize, wow, they, just had this profound impact, right? And still something so important to teach us today. So I wanted to share one more quote from, Shinran Shonin, right? So this idea of interdependence, I got two more quotes, maybe more. But Shinran Shonin has this interesting passage where he says, "As for me, Shinran, I've never said the Nembutsu even once for the repose of my departed father and mother." So I think a lot of times people say Nembutsu, not us so much in Jodo Shinshu, but there's an idea that we're saying it as a prayer to try and help someone else. And Shinran here is partly saying, no, that's not what we're doing. But the next thing he says is, to me, really fascinating and profound. It's because all sentient beings, without exception, have been our parents and brothers and sisters in the course of countless lives in the many states of existence. On attaining Buddhahood after this present life, we can save every one of them. So this idea, right? Normally we think, my family, my parents, my ancestors, right? But Shinran here is trying to, I think, break us out of that limited thinking and saying those are not the only people we're connected to. That all beings have been my father, have been my mother, my brothers and sisters, and I've been their father and mother and brother and sister throughout all these past lives, the history of the universe and beyond, maybe even, right? That we're all connected. Yes, those bonds are important, and yet don't get stuck in them, because actually we're all related. We're all interrelated, whether we're thinking about Thich Nhat Hanh's example of the flower. That's why I had the flower Kansho video, even though wisteria haven't bloomed yet, but I've seen flowers of birds of paradise blooming, right? And so next time when you go out and you see, I've seen California poppies blooming on the side of the road already. When you look at the flower, realize, wow, it's not just a beautiful flower. The whole cosmos is in there. It's connected to me. Martin Luther King Jr., right? Realizing, wow, we're dependent on each other. We depend on each other. We're not separate. Right? We're not alone either, but we can't take for granted all this stuff that we have, right? Even just breakfast, right? Involves so many people beyond our normal conception. So I wanted to share one more passage. This is from our own Reverend Doctor. We've had at least one today, right? But Reverend Dr. Seigen Yamaoka, Yamaoka Sensei, right? And he's got that book, Life Simple, but he also posts on Twitter a lot. And so I saw this one the other day and I really liked it. Always know that whatever success you have in life is dependent on the help of others. Wow. Sounds simple, right? Life simple is this thing. And yet, how often are we aware of this? Right? So this awareness of interdependence, right? That it's not just me. I'm not, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. That's not what it's about in Buddhism, right? Always know that whatever success you have in life is dependent on the help of others. So, that's why I was happy to find, maybe this one's kind of more colorful, huh? Gratitude by Tai Tetsu Unno with Ho-On written on there. Right? So one of my teachers, another one of my teachers, Haruyoshi Kusada, and another one, Yamaoka Sensei, teachers that I might not have as literal teachers that I've met or anything, but Martin Luther King Jr., Thich Nhat Hanh, I know he's teacher for some of our members, and some members have studied his teachings and even studied with him. But also I realized Martin Luther King Jr. was born 1929. That's when my father was born. My dad was born a few months later. And, I think of my father and realize, wow, just more and more as time goes on, how I would not, any of my success is due in large part because of him. right? That it's so much because of him. I sometimes I think about my dad and I think, you know what, I wish my dad had taught me how to solder. It taught me more like electronics. He was a mathematician and an engineer. Why didn't he pass that stuff on to me? And it's like, you know what? He taught me so much. He gave me so much, right? Realizing more and more. So that kind of awareness of this interdependence, awareness of how connected we are, right? Awareness of how much we receive. And, again, with Yamaoka Sensei's saying there with, that any success I have is due to the efforts of others so much. And isn't this connected to gratitude? That this gratitude of when we realize that, this gratitude just wells up in us. I think it also affects how we live. It changes us, right? And we're transformed when we awaken to this feeling of gratitude. We're transformed when we become more and more aware of interdependence. And so much of it, for me, is due to Namo Amida Butsu, right? This teaching that Shinran Shonin helped make available to me, make available to you, right? Of this Buddhism where you don't have to be special, you don't have to be smart, you don't have to be a certain way, right? This is Buddhism for anyone, Buddhism for everyone, as you are. And as we learn more, as we live this life of Namo Amida Butsu, I think we are transformed and we do become more aware. Maybe not all the time, it's easy to forget, right? And yet, this voice, Namo Amida Butsu, that's calling out to us, helping us wake up to this interdependence, along with all these teachers, right? These great teachers, wonderful teachers. Right? Maybe we don't have to call them great. Great implies some kind of special people. That's what I like about Jodo Shinshu, that, sometimes our teachers are human beings like us, right? Just normal people like us. That's what our kind of Buddhism is about. It's about Buddhism for just ordinary people, for me and you. And so I want to really thank you for joining us for our Dharma family service today, speaking today about gratitude and interdependence. So why don't we conclude the Dharma message with Kansho. I'd like to read Reverend Yamoka's passage one more time. Always know that whatever success you have in life is dependent on the help of others. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to turn the mic over and the camera to Robert Noguchi for announcements.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much, Sensei. Sharing my screen, hopefully everybody can see. Let's see. You should be seeing the website, Buddhist Church of Oakland website. I guess the first thing I wanted to mention is that we're going to continue having virtual services, at least through the first half of February, as things with COVID-19 and Omicron are still uncertain. So look for announcements in the next few weeks as far as what's going to happen with services, in-person service, virtual services, things like that. And moving on from there, I'd like to announce that the annual general meeting for members, for BCO members only, will be happening on Sunday, February 6th, and that'll be at 11 a.m. We'll have a regular service in the morning at 10, and then adjourn, and then come back with another link for the Zoom meeting for the annual general meeting. So that'll be on Sunday, February 6th. Okay. Okay. Moving on to announcements from the Buddhist Church of Oakland. This is actually from the Buddhist, from Juseige. They're having the 31st annual crab feed to go. That'll be on Sunday, February 27th, between 1 and 4 p.m. At their offices in Emeryville on 66th Street. So if you're interested in that, please contact them. This flyer is on the BCO website. Buddhist Temple of Alameda is having a karaoke. Actually, it's sold out, but just wanted to announce to all those who purchased tickets that it's been postponed, I think, until Saturday, March 5th. So they should be contacting you about that. But that just a quick announcement that that event has been postponed until March 5th. Going to the BCA website, the Buddhist Churches of America, if you scoot down to the upcoming events, you'll see 3 coming up. And the first one is a virtual open house for spring 2022 for the Institute of Buddhist Studies, featuring Reverend Blaine Higa and Don Neal, both alumni of the Institute of Buddhist Studies. So that'll be happening on January 26th. That's upcoming this week, Wednesday. The next event is happening Saturday, February 5th. It's Finding the Antidote to Greed, the first of the 3 poisons. And that'll be led by Dr. Michael Conway and D.D. Just. Dr. Conway is an associate professor with Shin Buddhist Studies at the Department at Otani University in Kyoto. And D.D. Just is a licensed marriage family therapist and an active member of the Vista Buddhist Temple down in the San Diego area. So that'll be happening on Saturday, February 5th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time. You can register online. And the last event I wanted to mention today is the 2022 Eastern Buddhist League Conference called Staying Connected, featuring keynote speaker, Reverend Dr. Takashi Miyaji of the Southern Alameda County Buddhist Church, and he's also the Koshotani Professor of Shin Buddhist Studies, Professorial Chair at the Institute of Buddhist Studies. That's happening on February 12th and 13th, 2022, and it's an online event, and that's for free. So please feel free to sign up if you'd like. So those are the events that we have going on here at the Buddhist Church of Oakland and Buddhist Churches of America. So thank you so much, everyone. And I'll turn it back over to Reverend Bridge.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everyone. Glad you could join us, and we hope to see you again over the next few weeks. We'll be online. Unfortunately, in a way, we really thought we'd be open to the public on some level by now, but I think it's okay. It's pretty amazing that we can be with you under these circumstances, and we do intend to continue. Even when we do resume in person, we'll be streaming it at the same time. So thank you so much, everyone. Let's conclude our service with Kansho. Recite the name of the Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Okay, bye YouTube. See you later. Thank you, everybody. Bye.